so many people are like, quit your day job, go all in real estate, make the jump. And I like the hybrid model, and I feel like it does take a lot of work on the back end, but at least you have the stability of the job kind of coming in. So I think it's really important to stick it out. And I have had jobs I absolutely hate, and I've had jobs I absolutely love. And right now I'm in a love season, but I just came out of one that I really despised. And so I've been there where you're hustling really hard and trying to get out. But you gotta, figure out which camp you're in.
And so there's kind of two pros that come to mind to that for me. So first, you're a lot more bankable. So it's easier to get financing. Yeah. And after you've bought quite a few deals, like the financing part isn't quite as big of a piece. Yeah. Because you have other properties you could leverage. You have a reputation, or maybe you've built some relationships with lenders. But when you're first getting started, if you're going to go the traditional route for financing as opposed to creative finance, those first few loans can be pretty tough. Yeah. And being bankable because you have a traditional job can be a make it or break it for some people. And not that it has to be, but they give up because they can't figure that part out.
I absolutely scaled up in the beginning because of the bankability. It was just so easy to take on mortgages.
And so that is part of that. What are some other pros to continuing to wait?
I think, houses just have so many things go wrong. And I think when I first got into the job, I was like, I'm going to buy cash flowing properties and I'm going to retire early off just a few properties. And it takes a lot of work and things keep breaking. And, you have water heaters, you have all these things go wrong. And it's really hard to, and as interest rates crept up, you kind of had to pivot a little bit with strategy. And so I just like the security, the backbone of having.
That's that second point I was bringing up. Because if you quit your job, you need the cash from the business. Yeah. So you can't put the cash back in the business for it to grow. Yes. So you need to not need the cash, which is kind of counterintuitive for finance sometimes. Right. Yeah. Because if you're like, you put it in the stock market, you start getting this cash back, right? Or you start getting, cash back's not the right way to word that, but you start getting your return, right? As soon as the money goes in theory. Yeah. And some other investments, if you were to buy gold or silver, right? Like maybe it continues to go up. But you really need to not take that cash in the beginning because you need to build up.
Recycle it in.
You do, whether it's to buy the next property or it's to remodel the property. Yep. It's to build up your, why is the word not coming for me? Capital expenses. We're in Vegas and it's 11 o'clock, which means it's like 2 o'clock at my house. I should be able to figure this out by now. Capital expenses. I feel like that's one of the places that people, they really don't save for vacancies or capital expenses. Right. And when something goes broke and something breaks and your tenant moves out and you weren't prepared for it, like a lot of people really suffer then, especially if you need the cash. So being able to save up that capital expense budget, your vacancy budget, and then eventually someday live off the cash flow is probably how we get to that statistic, if I had to guess, on being more successful.
Yeah, I think one of the big things I learned in how I'm trying to work on positioning it for people with a job that to kind of wrap your head around is you need an active and a passive. Yeah. So your passive builds well. So I'm also a very nerdy stock investor and love index funds and just have a very boring grandma's investing strategy on the backside. And then I have something active to give me money to live off of, to feed our kids, maintain our mortgage. And so you need both. And I think sometimes people look at long-term rentals as this amazing cash flow play, but really they're long-term wealth builders. And you're building out this portfolio that appreciates over time that you sell, unless you're able to live extremely frugally off of, the $200 to $500 cash flow a door. But it just wasn't enough. I'm a high maintenance person. So I was I cannot live off that amount of money. I'm going to be, broke. So my day job is the cash flow side. And
okay. So I also love that you're willing to admit that. Yeah. Because some people have this negative connotation towards stop getting your Starbucks, you don't need your hair done, whatever the things are they come up with, right? Live at this really low amount of money, which I do think you have a period of time that you need to do that. Yes. Right? But then you need to eventually be able to not have to do that anymore. Otherwise, what are we working for?
Exactly.
So I love that you're unapologetically high maintenance. When you say you're high maintenance, tell me what you mean by that.
I still like to shop. I feel like my budget's pretty flexible. We still like to eat out. We still like to shop. But I originally came off of Dave Ramsey and then the financial independence people where they're penny pitching and riding their bike to work. And I'm I tried to ride my bike to work once. I got to work. I was sweaty, dripping. I'm I will never make it. I don't know how these people live like this. And I'm like, props to them. Like, I wish I was a little low maintenance, but I've just come to accept that I like shopping and getting my hair done and my quarterly Botox, and I don't want to give that up.